No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Consideration, discussion, possible action on a professional service agreement with Clearview AI Inc. and the City of Maynard for services provided to the Maynard Police Department. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Ryan Phipps, I'm the Chief of Police for the Police Department. We bring to you today a request for professional services with Clearview AI. Clearview is a facial recognition technology utilized by law enforcement across the country to provide us building blocks on cases using facial recognition. We also have invited Clearview AI here tonight to answer any specific questions you all may have for them.
I think it might be good if you can define the building blocks on cases.
So a lot of people think that if there's a hit on a facial recognition, that solves the case right there. That is not. That is simply a tool that we use for a lead in a case for us to have detectives reach out to and interrogate or interview suspects or witnesses regarding cases, and it does not automatically tie a person to assign them guilt. Right?
Do you all have a practice policy, or is there an ordinance that supports and frames that practice for you?
So we would adopt best practices policies through what's recommended through the Texas Police Chiefs Association, and work with any recommendations you may have, or even work alongside company to see what other agencies are doing.
Well, go ahead.
Is that something that can be presented to us to
That's what I was
review
gonna say.
those policies?
Yes.
You asked my question.
Yeah, when we develop a policy, we could definitely bring that before to y'all and show y'all what that policy is.
Yeah, I was going to recommend maybe looking at that one that you're talking about, or a few others with the Public Safety Committee, and then and then maybe bring in the top 2 or 3 to council.
Absolutely. And like I said, they are here if y'all have any questions specifically for them. They came in from Arizona.
Oh, so y'all want it to be a little bit cooler?
I don't know about today. It was pretty warm out.
Anybody have questions for a chief or for?
Yeah. Is there any specific training that y'all will have to entail with this?
Good evening, Council. My name is Tyler MacArthur with Clearview. I'm actually not from Arizona. I'm from Dallas, so I'm pretty local. So I'm an account executive, though, but I do have.
Hi, pleasure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council members. Scott Geiser from Clearview AI, Senior Sales Account Representative.
But as far as your question, as far as training goes, yes, we do. Before a contract would start, we have our customer success managers. To train everyone that would be involved in using Clearview on how to use it, best practices, and also reiterating that everything included in Clearview is just a lead. There is no probable cause or anything with any of the images in our system. We also we'll retrain at any point if there's new people hired or someone else comes to the agency, that we need to make sure that they're trained up on it as well.
Other questions?
Are there any other local municipalities that use Clearview?
Yes, here in Texas we have close to 100 departments, the state agencies as well. Just in this area, there are quite a few agencies that use it. Yes.
My this is for staff, not just you, Chief, but just all staff. As we just continue to explore innovative solutions with AI, that we start maybe looking at some ordinances or some policies in regards to how we're going to implement those things. Those of us who've seen cities in other parts of the country or even overseas, we know that there's a lot of data that can be gathered and be used for projecting and forecasting. When you move to a more digital system, that can also help with solving issues and getting providing resources and safety a lot quicker. And so we know that those things take place, but there's also a lot of information out there, misinformation out there, and then a lot of fears and concerns because of the misinformation and information is out there. And so I think being able to have not just for police, because this is up to now, but just for all departments, how we see technology, and that it's not a replacement for the good police work, but it's to enhance the skills and the training that's already been done. But then for everything else, how we're going to move forward in the sense of what our beliefs and values are about it. And I think that that kind of work and that kind of statement publicly on our sites, and that framework, I think, will be very good for the residents to understand, because there's a lot. You just scroll for a few minutes on social media, and there's a lot of fear and concerns about just, we were laughing earlier about iRobot, so I mean, but what's real is we're behind. The state of Texas is far behind in its use of technology and AI, and all types of blended learning and other approaches. And so for us to get to where we need to be, and as a small city that's growing really fast, we cannot just all of a sudden start hiring a bunch of people, right? Y'all know finances and HR, we can't just do it like that. And so it means we need to be able to leverage digital tools so that we can close gaps. So if I just want to make sure we are throwing it out there that we start working on that, because I'm not we've done a lot of things in the last 2 years that was maybe basic level AI, and then we're increasing in the amount of stuff that we're doing. And so we can just have that framework for the city. Yeah. And then every department kind of talk about what that means for each department, so that we can have those safety things, but also more importantly, be transparent with the community about what our intentions are, where we're going with things, so that they can know. Beat them to the punch.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of people that are scared and have emotion from that misinformation about a lot of technology and AI in general. And Mr. Moore made all the directors go through an AI class recently held by TML. And I do believe you're right that we are falling behind. Government is falling behind in utilizing things that could really make jobs easier, and in this case, make our community safer, make our detectives' jobs a lot easier in utilizing technology, but ensuring absolutely that it is done appropriately and that it is done within reason and within the law. And I think that AI has established a firm foundation in maybe a little bumpy start, but a firm foundation now in supporting law enforcement and getting us the tools that we need to protect our community.
Other questions, comments?
I'm one of the ones who's just nervous about it all. Is there any way you could come to council and show me how it would work, or give some examples, or set up something? So
I would probably recommend that we do that on a one-on-one basis,
Okay.
just because of the technology. But for an example, we had similar conversations with when we enacted Flock, and we had a gentleman who had actually come here before y'all several times in opposition of Flock that we asked to join our Citizens Police Academy. And in that Citizens Police Academy, we went into depth of the Flock camera and how it is used and everything. And he said, "Why didn't y'all tell us this before?" And it's like, well, we don't have an ability to, sit down and spend, a few hours going over that with every resident in the city. And so there was a change of heart there. And so I think that that's just what it is. If there's an opportunity to sit down with people who may have some questions or may be unfamiliar with AI or there may be emotion tied to that, I think that may be a better situation where we just meet one-on-one.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Will the automatic renewals come back to us, or is that something that's just gonna renew?
I don't remember how this contract is written. It is budgeted this year, and so it's automatically put into our budget for next year, and it would carry on for 3 years. I would have to look at the contract to really understand. Do y'all know?
It looks like it's
The standard contract on the renewal, it's 90 days prior. We just need written notice if the contract is to not renew. If not within that 90 days, then we'll just present an invoice based off the contract.
Got you. Thank you.
Do you all provide reports on usage and comparison data so we can like it's been used this much in Manor and this is pretty much the average, or this is high usage, or this is under usage? That way we can be good stewards. If it's something we're using a lot of, we maintain. If it's something we're not utilizing a lot of, then
Yeah, we could probably include something in our monthly report in utilization. I just, not being familiar with utilizing the system yet, I would have to get with Detective or Sergeant Eaton to see if there's something that we could run each month to provide y'all some sort of number of usage. There is, right?
yeah, I saw them shaking their heads. So, yeah, we can do, we
It's
can do
very
that.
easy. In our admin settings, you'll be able to see all searches. Nothing can be deleted in the system, so it's all auditable. And then the admins of the system will have full access to any users and anything they search, and including case numbers, types of crimes, and the dates and everything involved with it, including just everything included with that's going to be in the system. And they can run a report on usage monthly, yearly. It's based on however they want to set it up.
Okay. Other questions?
Sergeant Eaton would be overseeing this.
So this software would mainly be used by CID. Please come up. And she can explain if there would be any uses outside of CID by patrol or anybody else in the department.
Good evening, Council. Sergeant Mary Eaton. Yes, so the primary use would be through the Criminal Investigations Division. However, I could see some specific circumstances where patrol could request us to use it on their behalf, but for the main use, it would be monitored primarily through the CID.
Okay. And you all will have that kind of internal controls to make sure that it's following kind of the design of who should have access and that kind of thing. So there's not random people just running faces through.
Yes, sir. So as I'm picturing it in my head, it would be that I would be an admin on it, as well as our operations lieutenant, Lieutenant Allen. That way we have a two-factor kind of two people to monitor it. And then there's the peer review as well. So we can all kind of do checks and balances on each other as well.
Try not to pass the buck, but I'm trying to get our team more in front of y'all. So I like to have them come up and
we appreciate that.
share the uncomfortableness of the podium with me.
Yeah. No, we appreciate that.
We were just corrected by the city attorney. The contract is a 30-day, not 90-day renewal period. So.
I will interject there. If 90 days does suit better, that is a simple red line that we can add to the contract too.
Okay. Other questions? Council members? All right, I'll take questions or a motion. And maybe, I guess whenever y'all meet together, maybe sometime in August, give us a proposal of when we might, when we might have a policy to come before us for all the AI stuff, or if we need to workshop that.
It's through Lexipol. It's just waiting on your approval. Just so you guys know, we do have a policy already drafted and ready for Chief's approval through our new system that we're implementing. So it's already good to just be in final review for you guys to look at as well.
Okay. Awesome. I was talking about the bigger one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I could schedule a public safety meeting and go that route if that's the easiest way to do that.
All right. Questions on the motion?
Mayor and Council would like to make a motion that we approve a professional service agreement between Clearview AI Inc. and the City of Manor for services provided to the Manor Police Department and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesmer. Any questions to the motion? I guess we should add. Are you on the public safety? Who's on public safety? Oh, you. I guess we should ask you about it. And who? And Emily. Yeah, that's right. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Moving right along, item number 8, desk officer AI service. Consideration, discussion, possible action regarding a master subscription agreement between Desk Officer AI and the City of Manor for services provided to the Manor Police Department. Yes, sir.
Again, good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here again with another AI product. Mayor, as you discussed, as we're growing, it is harder to get employees, and we're looking to utilize technology to take some workload off of our existing employees. So Desk Officer AI is an advanced artificial intelligence system designed to support public safety operations. Desk Officer AI functions as a virtual desk officer that is indistinguishable from a human in conversation. It is trained to answer non-emergency calls, take police reports, and manage low priority or administrative tasks. It's very intuitive. I've had the pleasure of doing a walkthrough and actually calling the system. It recognizes all sorts of things, and it does sound exactly like you're talking to a human. If somebody calls into the police department and says, I need to file a report because my boyfriend just beat me up, and then all of a sudden something happens in the background, the system is intuitive enough to know to transfer that call to 911. So I do also have representatives from Desk Officer AI here. They also brought their humanoid robot, which is, I believe, the first humanoid to ever attend a Manor City Council member. So making a little bit of history here. And so if y'all have any specific questions, I or they are here to answer them.
I think after questions, well, I'll get to that later. I do have a few. I don't know if you all have some.
How I do.
Go ahead.
How does it respond to, I guess, panicked callers
Yeah.
when they're not really intelligible? You can't really make out what they're saying, screaming, maybe different tones of voice. Like, how does it respond to that?
So in my experience with it, it would recognize that there's something wrong, and it would say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it would intuitively say the AI bot recognizes there's an issue in the background and would transfer that call to 911. Is that correct? That's perfect. Okay.
So what happens if maybe something goes wrong with the system? Who's working on the back end? Like, how quickly can we get that fixed?
At the well, they're an Austin-based company. I have their cell phone numbers, so it would be a very quick phone call. But I think, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, is if I remember, if the system glitches or doesn't know what to do, it automatically transfers the call to ring a human's desk.
That's it. Automatic follow-up.
Who's that human?
That could be anyone in the police department. So if you call into our main line, 272-8177, main phone number of the police department, that actually rings multiple people's desk phone. And so whoever is available at that desk is the first one to pick up. So that would not change. So if something were to happen with the system, it would automatically default to that phone number.
Yeah, because that was my, I guess, errands in my notes.
Yeah.
That was part of my, what does the backup system look like? I figured it'd have a process to roll over to a person, but who's that designated person? How does that work if we're on a short shift and people are out and there's no, people are out driving and there's not someone that can answer? Just kind of what are those protocols?
And again, I'll ask them to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember is right now, if somebody calls our police department line after 5 o'clock, it goes to an answering machine.
Okay.
So with this system, it would actually try to help them through the AI bot even after hours. And if they can't, they would transfer to either 911 or to our non-emergency number. Am I right? Okay.
Ah, look, y'all prepped him well. All right. Let's see.
I have a question. As far as recording the transcript, does it record like a call to where something, there's a glitch or somebody said I called earlier, we can go back to a call at
Yes.
11:30 to see what exactly was discussed rather than being a total disconnect from the bot to an actual human so they can see the transcript of it.
It's a great question. It actually keeps a complete transcript of every call. And if that call results in a report, those transcripts can actually be put into the police officer's report. So let's say we had a resident that called in speaking Chinese. The system recognizes what language is being spoken to them, speaks to them in Chinese, gives us the full text of the conversation in English, so we know what was said between the bot and the caller.
What's the I'm not. You don't even have to ask him no more. When he's wrong, just step up.
Yeah.
That way we know. What is the back to the backup part for servers and access? Is that on our equipment? Is that on you all's equipment? Do you have redundancies to ensure that that's not lost or hacked?
Please come on.
Introduce yourself.
Hey, council members. My name is Kush. I'm the CEO of Desk Officer. There are 2 redundant systems on 2 different cloud providers in different regions of the country that the system has a failover to. So
okay.
It shouldn't, theoretically, should not fail. But if one fails, it'll go to the other, and they're in sync. Yeah.
And there's no equipment that goes into our server rooms.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would also like to point out, and see, y'all may have a question, that if somebody calls into the police department line and they say, I need to pay my ticket, the system knows and they will forward that call onto our court department. If they call and say, there's a pothole in the street, well, it will forward that call to our public works, and so on and so forth. It will direct calls appropriately within the city.
I'm assuming it has some type of learning processor as well. So if there is something that stumps it, it can learn or be programmed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can program it to learn from the conversations, and then you can also train it.
Okay. Admin users in the contract is unlimited. Sometimes with software companies, the price increases with the number of admin accounts. Is that the case with this, or is admin okay?
All inclusive, yeah.
Okay.
All inclusive.
All right, because I saw that it was unlimited, so that sometimes that can mean a lot more. And then initial contract starts with the I think the prorated discounted amount of $62,000, 42% discount, and then the following year that 62 goes up, and so I guess I'm wondering if we were looking at FTEs and the software, where are we seeing the cost savings and those kinds of things?
Good evening, Council. My name's Jameson Johnson, one of the co-founders of Desk Officer. So the way to think about Desk Officer is, each one we deploy is essentially a 24/7 employee, right? Because it's going to be working overnight. So to staff something like that, you'd actually need 3+ employees regularly. So when next year it renews, we're going to be going from just the single Desk Officer to other use cases where it can help with investigations, it can help with other kind of community engagement type use cases. So at the end of next year, I think the equivalent FTE is likely about 6 FTEs for the 2 Desk Officers that you'll be implementing.
Okay. What are the in the contract? It talks about analytics in the dashboard. We've had some conversations with some other tech entity in regards to being able to have digital data that we can use and crunch and do reporting on. What types of reports will the chief and police have access to that will help with us knowing more about what's happening in the city and inclusive of those other areas that are going to be added on after year one?
So a lot. At a high level, total number of calls, total talk time. We can then estimate total human hours saved that you can reallocate to other work. And then within the call, there's analysis on what it actually does. So it could be number of police reports filed, number of questions answered, number of calls transferred, different languages that are spoken that are now supported. The AI speaks up to 70 languages fluently. So hopefully every person in the city of Manor will get service through a system like this.
And I'm assuming it does categories on call content sorts and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Is there a way for tagging closed cases or and all that kind of stuff? Is there a way to connect all that? So like the call comes in, it goes to an officer does whatever they do. Is there a way to does closing that go back into the system, or is that somewhere separate from that?
So when a police report is submitted through the system, it will eventually make its way into the records management system the police department uses, and then that will be noted that case file came from a desk officer origin.
But it doesn't have a close, it doesn't talk back to wherever we're logging our closed cases. Does that make sense?
I'm not following you.
So someone calls, the system takes the call and says, hey, blah, 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 assigns the case number. That goes to someone to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
That person deals with it and closes it. Does that go back into the system, or does it just, or is it just two separate things?
It's two separate things, but I think that there is and correct me if I'm wrong, a back end where if there's changes to the case, like let's say it's a police report that's filed, that report goes into our RMS system. It's then distributed how it goes, whether it's to a detective or a supervisor, however that the pattern of that case goes. If there's a change to the case file, then the system can notify the complainant or victim in the situation that there's been a change to their case file. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, because I'm just, if we're using two systems, that's why I'm just, how to will we have them talk back to each other through like an API or something like that, or will it just be this part is done and now you have to do all this over here, and then like now I'm gonna have to personally call you. I can't do updates through this. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
How are we linking our two systems together?
Yeah, they will link together. Our current RMS system is through Tyler Technologies, and they have already established a relationship with them and communicated with them that we are looking to come on board. They don't see any issues from what I've been told, and so the system should very easily talk back and forth with each other.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
There any other cities that use a desk officer around here?
They just signed a good one.
So locally, Round Rock is moving forward, and then in North Texas, we just recently went live with over 40 other 911 centers.
I think my question would be for how accessible is the information for the open records request? Because we have people that do them quite frequently, so.
There would be no change. Like you said, the reporting system that we could run reports on if they were specific to get information from the desk officer system, but most likely what people would want out of open records would be the police report side, which is its communication to our RMS system. So there would be almost no changes to our process.
And that's in case an attorney asks for the actual phone call that took place.
We keep a voice copy and a transcript of the call. So you have the original language, and then the transcript has the original language and the translated language. So.
Would the open records request be through the system, or does it follow our regular requests? Then the access is.
It would fall through us, and we would have a mechanism of obtaining that information.
Okay.
So, a human officer or one of the sergeants or something like that, they're gonna verify all the output before it goes anywhere, like even if it was a court submission or something like that, someone's gonna verify it.
Correct. This is not going to take every report, right? This is going to, what we would normally allow an officer to take a report over the phone on, or even if somebody were to walk into our lobby, what we see is like if you lose your passport, a lot of times they will, to replace the passport, they will require you to file a police report, and then you take that police report and then they authorize the reprinting of a passport. And so something like that, that's not ever going to be investigated. It's not going to go to a court. It's not. So it's small little reports that are mostly administrative that would be filed through that system. And even if a report was filed that needed follow-up, it's still going to go those paths, whether it's a victim that needs to be spoken to by victim services, if it's a case that needs to be assigned to a detective for investigating, or if it is something that needs to be assigned to a sergeant for follow-up.
And then the last thing is, just because, just we're covered like on concerns, like if someone were to go to the ACLU and say concerns regarding data privacy and things like that, and then they might say about bias, you know, like things that happen. So how are we protected against that?
It's a great question. I mean, one of the things that's important to note is that our AI cannot take any enforcement action. All it can do is listen to the conversation, go back and forth, and then a police officer is always going to be the one that's going to investigate if the crime is mentioned or anything like that. So by definition, the AI will never be making investigation decisions that would lead in, you know, arrests or subpoenas or, you know, anything like that.
Just checking. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, council members? Okay, I'll entertain either additional questions or a motion.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a master subscription agreement between Desk Officer AI and the City of Maynard for services provided to the Maynard Police Department, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesco. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Nice meeting you all. What I was going to say earlier was, could we do a quick photo?
Of course.
Yeah. All right.
We're gonna give it around till the end of the session.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Y'all want to come now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Charlie's been drinking.
Oh my God.
I'm taking several, so you can smile whenever you want. All righty, I got you.
Can you take quick what the volume do for?
Oh, yeah.
I can share it. Oh, you can share it? Okay, that's your phone.
Yes. You try to push him over.
Yeah, sturdy. Even though he's been drinking.
Yeah. Very good.
All right, council. Good times. Good times. We're on item number 9. Consideration, discussion, possible action on a second amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement to, is it Jiwon Jung? Did I say it right? No. How do I say it?
Big Brother. Yeah, Big Brother.
Jiwon Jung. And owner of property located at 101 West Boyd Street to provide an extension of time to accommodate for unforeseen construction delays. Councilmember, this item and the next 2 items are all connected. As you know, we've always brought them together in 3s. This was on the agenda for last meeting, and we were asked to put it on this week so that our guests could be present. So go ahead.
Yeah, council members and mayor, thank you. These items were, all 3 items were on postponement from last meeting so that the developer could be here to address you. And so we're asking you tonight, staff recommends that City Council approve this second amendment to the 380 agreement to Jiwon Jung, the owner of the property at 101 Boyd Street. This is for an extension of time to accommodate the unforeseen construction delays. And we have here Ms. Kim and Mr. Jung, the brother of Jiwon Jung, to talk to you about the construction delays and the unforeseen reasons for, and to explain to you also the timetable, since everybody passes by these 3 construction sites and haven't seen that much activity going on them. They're going to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up. They've got a chart here of the construction timetable and what is expected. They asked for a 1-year extension on each one of these, which would be 101, well, we'll talk about 101 Boyd Street first. That's extension from the December 31st, 2027 completion date to December 31st, 2028. And then we'll talk about 107 and 108 after that. So I'll let them come up and address you.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Good evening, Council. We respectfully request your approval for amendments to our Chapter 380 economic development agreements for the mixed-use redevelopment projects located at 101, 107, and 108 West Boyd Street. We want to emphasize that Bill Block remains very fully committed to the city of Manor. We are fully capitalized, and we already have made massive investments in these properties, and we are very dedicated to delivering the downtown improvements that this community expects. But to put these projects on a very realistic track for successful completion, we are proposing an extension of 101 Boyd Street to December 31st, 2028. And this project requires a $3.7 million investment in real property improvements. For 107 and 108 West Boyd Street, we request an extension to December 31st of 2029. For 108 West Boyd Street, this requests another $3.7 million in real property improvements, while for 107, this requests $4.7 million in real property improvements. I want to walk you through the what our team ran into, which for the past few months, which disrupted our master schedule. So first, for pre-existing city infrastructure remediation, during the construction, the city identified the existing North Caldwell Street manhole, which was severely deteriorated, and Bill Block executed unplanned replacement of that manhole as directed. And during that process, we discovered mapped electrical PVC conduits directly adjacent to our approved wastewater line alignment. So to guarantee safety and avoid more disasters, we had to halt field operations and redesign the construction methodology and the manhole to safely resume work. And also in mid 2025, there were water leaks from the city's fire hydrants at the intersection of Boyce and Lexington Street, which saturated the project site and forcing us to suspend some earthwork and pad excavation for months. Third, when we initially installed the storm box culverts, there was a CCTV inspection which proved that the installation was performed correctly. However, subsequent to that installation, there was some unexpected ground movement causing some of the box culverts to shift, and this was completely unforeseen. So our team is fully committed to doing things the right way going forward. And based on those lessons that we learned from these surprises, we built a realistic master schedule moving forward, as you can see on the screen. The reason the deadline for 101 and versus 107 and 108, the reason why their deadlines are different is that we didn't want to squish all three projects in the same timeline because it would cause more traffic bottlenecks in that downtown area. So, which is why we request a deadline for 2028 for 101 Boyce and 2029 for 104 and 107 and 108 West Boyce Street.
Thank you. Council members, y'all have any questions?
I think they're still showing the foundations to be grade beams and slabs to be poured.
Go to the mic, sir. Thank you.
Sorry. I think they're still showing foundation, grade beams and slabs to be poured by third quarter or end of first quarter 2027, end of 26 and first quarter 27. So then they'll go vertical with construction first part of 27.
If I may add something to the foundation construction wise, that the minor, sorry, my name is Bohan from Bill Block, working for the owner, and the minor issue was in terms of the building permit system. The city recently changed the building permit system from MGO to GovWell, that we had to migrate or transfer all the documents to the city's new system and then get all things sorted out. And then it was scheduled to be started like 2 weeks ago, but due to those kind of minor items that to be handled, the building permit finally issued, and then tomorrow we're breaking the ground for the foundation.
Thank you, sir. Other questions?
So we'll be seeing progress over here.
We believe that all the unforeseen conditions regarding the horizontal construction are completed, and going forward for the vertical construction, things should be pretty predictable without any unforeseen utility conditions or soil conditions.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem when you go to a older community, older downtown area. You don't know, you have no idea what's in the ground or how the ground's going to work, and yeah.
I think they've run into some 50,000 plus in additional expenses because of the manholes and everything that they've had to install as well.
Yeah. All right, I'll take questions or a motion.
I did have a question. Matt, are the leaks taken care of?
Yeah.
Hi, Mayor, Council. Yes, the leaks have been fixed. There was 2 fire hydrants that, due to our infrastructure being aged the way it is, and the lack of exercising and stuff, so yeah, they were leaking, and our crews had to actually put some line stops in just to get to that matter to the fire hydrant to make the repairs. So we really appreciate the support that we're getting from our staff and everything to be able to get those valves put in to where we start isolating more of those water lines. And I appreciate working with them as well up front, talking to them about our needs for that area. We were able to tell them up front that the wastewater we knew was bad. We knew the water lines needed to be upgraded. So it's much appreciated in that corner right there to get all that rehabilitation done. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Entertain question or motion.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that City Council. Sorry, it was written kind of weird. Approve a second amendment to the Chapter 380 grant agreement to Jiwong Jung, owner of the property located at 101 West Boy Street, to provide an extension of the time to accommodate for unforeseen construction delays.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquite. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Number 10, consideration, discussion, possible action on an amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement to build block owner of the property located 104 Boy Street and 108 Boy Street to provide an extension of time to accommodate unforeseen construction delays. Council members, is there any additional questions? If not, I entertain questions or a motion.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve an amendment to the Chapter 380 grant agreement to Build Block Inc., owner of the property located at 104 West Boy Street and 108 West Boy Street, to provide an extension of the time to accommodate for unforeseen construction delays.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquite. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And number, looks like 11, consideration, discussion, possible action on a second amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement to Jiwong Jung, owner of the property located at 107 Boy Street, to provide an extension of time to accommodate unforeseen construction delays. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a second amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement to Jiwong Jung, owner of the property located at 107 West Boy Street, to provide an extension of time to accommodate for unforeseen construction delays.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquite. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. Thank you for
y'all very
coming.
much.
We appreciate you all driving down or flying down. All right, council members, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the ordinance approving the tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, City of Maynard final project and finance plan. We've had 2 workshops as board members regarding TERS number 2, and this is the approval process for the final plan and finance plan, and I'm assuming we need to do it with adjustments to the language of with those edits that were and I did send them to you all. So,
And Mayor, I've already talked to Travis James, and he's sending us revision of that document, sending it to you via.
Okay. Did anyone else have any other questions that come to mind after the board meeting? Okay. Well, I'll entertain either questions or a motion for this ordinance.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 818, approving a tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, City of Maynard final project and finance plan with edits.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquite. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. All right, council, and now we're at item number 13, consideration, discussion, and possible action on First Amendment to the 380 agreement for Kimbrough Crossing with IDCAP Maynard, Texas LLC. We have an item that our city secretary passed out to us, looks like this, for this item. And yes, sir, Mr. Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. You have in front of you, we have a request from IDCAP Maynard, Texas LLC, and Identity Capital. And the principal, Pat Saar, is here to talk to you about this. They're requesting an increase in the funding for the amendment, actually, for the First Amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement, which includes an increase in the funding that we can talk about, and he will give you a rundown as to the reasons for those increases. They've had some, various construction increases, some of them caused by different sources, and he can go through those reasons for you. And I'll introduce Mr. Sauer, and also we have a representative from Academy Corporate here tonight to talk to you as well, if y'all would like to say hi to them.
Come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name's Pat Sauer. I'm with Identity Capital. Last time I was before you, I think I got up to speak at 1:45 in the morning. So thank you for your service is an understatement. We started working on Manor literally 4 years ago, and we've worked on multiple sites here and got this property under contract beginning of 2025. We've now designed it. We've got preliminary plat approval, final plat approval, our public improvement plans approved. TxDOT plans are just about finished. We've invested about just under $500,000 on the design cost, attorney's fees, et cetera, permitting fees. And we're just at a point where I got numbers last week and it just doesn't work. And so I was first really upset with my engineer because I thought they made such a blunder on the estimates that we presented to you last December. But then I went and did a deep dive, and I'd like to take you through what all we're doing. And I think it would help if I could you have that site plan in front of you, I believe. So if I can stand over there and yell, maybe that might help.
You want to do?
Oh, there's a mic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I won't. I'll try not to. Okay, so the site, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but right now it used to be the driving range, and it's pretty raw. I mean, there is a little bit of power down here. There's no water, no sewer. That public street is not there. TxDOT, every time I'm in Manor, which is pretty often, I sit at this light forever. And people try to cut around and come up from through Old Kimbrough, and they either go north or they turn left to get around all that traffic. And I was telling David Church with Academy for the last 6 months while I was trying to get them to the point where they'd sign a lease. I said, when I first started working on this, there was no traffic on 290. And today it is so jammed, they're going to start complaining about having too much traffic. But just to walk you through what all we're doing for TxDOT, we're doing a right turn lane here to Old Kimbrough. We're putting a second turn lane here. We're doing a right turn lane here onto the new public street, and we're doing a left turn lane here on Old Kimbrough. So the really off-site costs are significant with TxDOT. On top of that, we're building this public street and all the utilities associated. We're also bringing power to the site, three-phase power, which every big box building needs three-phase power. We can't do it with single phase. And the only thing they have, Blue Bonnet up here, is pretty far. So we're paying to bring power here for this whole intersection just to build these two, okay? I'm not asking for money for that. There's a lot of things hitting me. I got hit in many directions, and I'm just trying to chip away to make this project a success. And, I've been associated with Academy for a number of years. Hobby Lobby I've been building for 21 years all over the country. And I think even if we don't get this done, they'll still let me build for them. But if we can get this funding, it gets us there. And I want to walk you through what we're asking for and kind of what the big ticket items were that they weren't underestimated. They just plain were not in the budget at all. So On the TxDOT improvements, I just walked you through what we're doing. When we were working on that left turn, the double left turn lane, we realized that there's a traffic signal there. And we also realized we had to, well, after we submitted to TxDOT, I thought you could just move a traffic signal. I didn't realize it's significant, like the design of the sequencing and all of that stuff. So we had to hire another engineer besides our civil, and TxDOT never told me that. I just figured it out about halfway through their review process. And I think we're very close on TxDOT permits. I need those to close in order to close on the land. The scope that was not in the budget, it was about $546,000 additional stuff. And the big ticket items were the concrete barricades. When we first started working on this, I think you could have used barrels, which is a pretty cheap way to control traffic. TxDOT is requiring us, excuse me, to put concrete barricades for the entire course of the construction because they say this is the busiest section of 290 in all of 290, this little 4-mile section. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but if it's not elevated, you don't think so? Okay. Well, that's what they're making us do from a safety perspective. There's also a couple other things. There's some kind of slope failure to our west that they're coming in and they're putting a guardrail past where we're putting Winning Way there. And we're going to have to tear that back out and put some guardrail on our apron, on our approach apron. And then the other thing is that traffic signal, we can't just remove it. We have to replace it because of future plans for the city to widen Old Kimbrough. We're moving it away. And so we're having to get a longer mast arm. And so that's, that's not final. We're still bidding that, but it's around $76,000. On the public streets, the main additional scope items, we're about $412,000 over there, but the main items are there were no street lights in the original budget, probably should have been, but and then the left turn lane from Old Kimbrough onto that private drive was not in there, and so that was 175 of that 412. The detention pond, which is really catching all of this, including the public streets. It's also catching tons of water from the west. And knowing, until you do the engineering, you don't know exactly how much water you have to retain there. And now that we know, we have a significant mosaic wall we're putting in, and because it's more than, I think the number is 3 feet, we have to put a wrought iron fence around it. So that was a part of it. And then there is a drainage channel running south of the main street that's all heavy riprap, like larger than 6-inch riprap, and that's another $176,000. So the total cost of additional items on the budget, and these are very real numbers. This is from the low contract bid. Was $1,728,000, but we're requesting, because overall we just need $1,640,000 to get it done. So our total ask for off-site costs, public improvements, is $4.55 million.
And the 4.55 is inclusive of the original amount.
Yes, sir.
Ones.
The additional is $1,640,000, and you have a comment. Oh. Do you have any more questions for me at this time? I'd like David to speak.
Come on up.
Come on up, David.
Thank you. Yeah, Mayor and council members. My name's Dave Church. I'm the Director of Real Estate covering Texas for Academy. We've probably been working on this project for about a year with Pat. We're very excited about trying to come to Manor and open a store here. This particular site, we are formally approved at our real estate committee. We've fully negotiated a lease, and we're just waiting to sign it, really pending the outcome of this meeting. So again, we're really looking forward to doing business in Manor, and happy to answer any questions, but really just wanted to show up and support Pat and let you know how committed we are to, landing in Manor.
All right. Thank you. Council members, do y'all have any questions for Mr. Jones or for our guest?
And I do have, if you'd like to go into executive session and talk about it, I do have the original and the revised impact reports that we can talk about, and how they affect how they affected the old and how they affect the new incentives, and have those available for you to look at as well.
Okay. Let's see where we're at.
Can I add that we are inside of 45 days from ready to close and start construction. Everything's done pretty much. We don't have our private permits, but we're there. We're ready to go, and we've got 2 leases ready to sign. And I also did not mention, while we've been working on this, we also got an LOI working with Home Goods, and they're going to committee in a couple of weeks. And Sprouts just finished their sales forecast. Manor was not on their targeted markets, but after they saw the sales forecasts, they're going to do a jet tour in a month. So this could be one of the coolest projects in Manor, and it energizes the east side and beats Elgin to the punch in terms of all of these tenants.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that additional information. What we could do, so we're not going back and forth, is hold on 12 or table 12 and 13 to after executive session, and then come back, do 14 and then 15 and come back.
Okay.
After executive session. My bad. I'm looking at the wrong numbers. 13 and 14. Yeah, 13 and 14. Are they connected? Nope. All right. So there's 13, then go over 14, 15, and come back and do that one.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we table item number 13 until after executive session.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesco. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes
Thank you,
5-0.
Council.
We'll be right back after executive session to do that one. Item number 14, consideration, discussion, and possible action on Old Kimball Road Safety Improvement Project interlocal cooperation agreement between City of Manor and Travis County. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Y'all know that I've been trying to work really hard to get some contacts and get working with Travis County. Thank goodness a project manager did finally follow up with me about Old Kimbrough. They got to get into a advanced funding agreement with TxDOT, doing some striping on Kimbrough. And after we had our meeting, we realized really quick that, hey, it needs to be totally redone, not just some striping, no Band-Aids. So we desperately need the ILA so we can work with them, where we can do a full depth repair all the way. And then we also can utilize their resources on their engineering and their contractor, and we can get it totally reconstructed and get our striping all the way down to 290. And I was really hoping that I could get the other ILA to y'all, but I'm working really hard with Veronica. I was like, man, please let me bring both of them. But at least this one came up. But I am working on an ILA to do the maintenance side. So whenever we see them actually doing work on any other roads, we can hop on with them and get our portion done.
Does this potential work, you said it's going to go from Old Highway 20, is it going to make it to 290 or is it going to, it's going to be at that big end, so we won't get all the way to 290?
They're actually going to, Travis County is actually doing where the curve is out on 20, and they're going all the way up to the city's portion.
Okay.
I think I have about 0.72 miles from 290 to their portion.
And then we had a 0.98.
0.98.
Yeah, and I would say similar to what happened on Blake Manor, coming from Taylor right to the Valero, we have that about 1,500 linear feet. That if we had an agreement like this in place, that allowed us to go ahead and make that correction. So I think
keeping us from missing an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember talking about that. So I'm really glad that you guys are putting in that work and presenting this to us. So
appreciate it. I started looking at my notes. We did actually start this July of last year, so it's like, and I was trying to get it going before that.
What's the grade gonna look like? Or
Sorry.
is it gonna still be the same, pretty much hill?
They have been talking about that, and they're going to re-engineer all of that to make sure the slopes are right, the drainage is right, and they're actually in the ILA has got agreements about easements if they have to take up, and they'll actually do work for us if we need easements for our slopes or anything like that as well.
With consideration of what's been developed west of Old Kimbrough and the number of trucks and stuff that's coming in there.
They are doing a traffic analysis. I'm pretty sure that's part of their scope of engineering.
Okay.
Now, I do believe it's still kind of going to be the 2-lane road. I don't know if there is some plans later on in the road to do some expansion and stuff, but I think at this point they're just trying to get the road to where it's really functional and it's in good shape.
Okay.
And one of the things we talked about too is to try to acquire some of the easements on both sides of Old Kimbrough, and so I think that would give us an opportunity to circle back with the property owners to say if they are interested, work with us. So these public improvements will allow them to see that we are committed to knowing there's going to be a future project, but have that to where we don't have to come back in 5 to 6 years or 10 years and have to acquire it to see if they can donate it. And then we can work with them moving utilities or putting the power underground if that's the desire of the development on that part of Old Kimbrough.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking about it. And my line of question was, we already know what's coming there, and so even if we rebuild to 2 lanes, that's only going to last 2 or 3 years before the other developments come in. And someone told me there was a whole bunch of stuff about to happen at 290 in Old Kimbrough. So that's just going to increase all that traffic, going down there. And so I'm mostly concerned about the road usage and how do we build so that we don't have that edge falling off, after, because we got the trucks, 18-wheelers, and we have the dump trucks that are constantly going through there. And yeah, that's a lot. School buses, yeah.
And the ILA will be heavily involved through the whole process.
Okay.
We're right there. We'll be able to inspect our side and also consult with their engineers and talk about what they're doing.
Are we exploring sidewalks and walkable path down there, or just road?
At this time, Travis County is just trying to get the road rebuilt and the striping done. But we can definitely bring that subject matter up about sidewalks.
Yeah. They're the project manager's office?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Lean hard.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of safety grants out there for walking and safe paths, and so maybe we can explore some of those as well.
That's right. We did talk to another Travis County representative that was talking about a lot of grants out there for sidewalks.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good
they
opportunity to bring that in.
did a big bond for safe pathways and different things like that, and so
And I think they were.
and I
looking
know
for
we're going to
projects.
save them $200 million potentially. So there's an opportunity to maybe.
Yes, sir.
So just something to consider.
Yes, sir.
Especially again with all that stuff that's going to be there, then people can just walk.
Yes, ma'am. I've been trying really hard, and I appreciate because I was emailing their legal team. They wouldn't really respond to me, but when Veronica emailed, bang, they listen. It's like, ah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. I just wanted to give you some background information as well on the legal side, that right now the city moves a whole lot faster than the county does, but there is an urgency on the county side so that we wouldn't miss the timing of making this payment and participating. And so after your consideration of this item, it will then go to Commissioner's Court for their approval. So I just wanted to let you know that we are coordinating, and yes, I'm working with Travis County Travis County Legal. There are 2 contacts, and we've now established biweekly meetings, because it's not just this ILA. Like Matt mentioned, there is another ILA that we're working on. So if Matt provides me some additional information on sidewalks or anything that we're looking at, by all means, we can discuss that with their legal team. There were quite a few changes with retirements and folks leaving from their legal department, but now there are definitely 2 attorneys that I'm working with. Julie Joe is one of them, and I've worked with her before. So again, once you consider this item, it will need to go to Commissioner's Court, and again, we were discussing timing with county legal, and so they're looking at July to put it on Commissioner's Court, because I think theirs is like a 3-week lag. So I let her know we were putting it on this agenda because we definitely did not want to miss that window, an opportunity for this. But I also wanted to make you aware that it wouldn't happen immediately because it still needs to go to Commissioner's Court.
Sounds good. Also sounds like we probably should look at if we got like 1 or 2 things we're looking at, we should probably look at all the other stuff we're going to need to do later on, and just start on those discussions in ILAs now, because at some point in time we have to do go Highway 20. Sure. And that's
with that one that we were talking about, the other ILA is kind of like the maintenance tour. We can start jumping on those different ones, and we've got a draft to look at, and I think hopefully we can button that up soon and come back to y'all for that ILA.
All right. Questions, comments, council members?
I was going to say, if you wanted to attend the Commissioner's Court meeting when it's presented, I think it gives us a chance to be unified like we did the CTMRA. So if there's an opportunity for us to go and speak at that Commissioner's Court, then that could probably leverage other conversations about things we need in Manor if we have a chance to speak.
I'll take questions or a motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Old Cambro Road Safety Improvement Project interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Manor and Travis County.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Wallace. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. City charter amendments. Consider discussion and possible action on proposed city charter amendments. Are you coming up? Or you would? Okay. Council member, this is a summary of all of the workshops we've done with our city staff and our city attorney. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor and council, thank you for having me here. As you are all aware, you received a report from the Charter Commission from last fall into January of this year. On that totality of the Charter Review Commission, there were 23 items that they proposed. After you reviewed and considered what, and we had the 2 conferences on it, you came down to consideration of, I believe it was 3 or 4 items out of the 23. So in front of you right now is a determination that you will have to make as to whether or not you want to go forward with having a charter election, or if you want to push the items that you had recommended to a later election. The city secretary provided. Can you hear me now? I'm trying to be quiet because I'm usually very boisterous. Got it. So of the 4 propositions, UVA had provided you also in the memo the election cost summary for having a special election. And we wanted to give you that information in order to assess whether or not you felt that there needed to be, there's a couple of ways you can work this. You can either have the election, as she listed that she's estimating it to be somewhere between 15 and 20,000. The general election would be under 15,000. So one option for you is to approve to proceed with the special election on the few items that you had ultimately discussed, or number two was to proceed with a special election for just A, B, and L, and as for the community committees, remove that, so that would just reduce it down. And the option three was to not approve any of the amendments at this time and not to proceed with a special election for charter amendments in November of 2026, but moving that forward to the next time that you have a charter review election and a charter review for an election, and seeing about taking those matters up one more time. I'm available for any questions you might have.
We're talking about item A, item B, and item L, correct?
Item A was make section 1.05 particular powers section clearer, which was by delineating those out in a numerical fashion. Item B was modifying section 1.07 annexation and disannexation to bring it into alignment with the modifications made by state law and allowances as to the annexations and disannexations. And proposition L was to correct the misspelling of the word insure. And then I believe there was a council proposition that you didn't, obviously because you were not in council chambers. It's merely a recommendation, and you would need to vote on that, is to change the name of the committee referenced in section 10.11A from Community Collaborative Committee to the Mayor's Collaborative Committee.
Is there a cost per item, or is it flat rate just for the special election?
I don't know. Again, the estimate for a special election and the general election would be between 15 and 20,000, I believe.
Mayor and Council, Yubi Almaraz, City Secretary. The cost, it's not per item. We contract with Travis County, so how that's broken down depending how many cities are contracted, and it's divided. From my experience, I mean, that's the cost estimate between 15 to 20, and you're not even adding if there's a runoff with that general election. So a couple of years ago, when we just had the runoff, I think it went over 20 from what I recall. Do you remember? So this is just an estimate. The general election, which that's the one we're having, in every 4 years now, it estimates less than 15.
The 1.07, we talked about making the language more consistent with what we talked, or what the law changes are. Is there any harm if B is not dealt with because of the state statutes already changing?
Mayor, there's not harm. It doesn't provide clarity because a home rule city can do anything, pretty much. But there is a state law, and so it just provides lack of clarity. And I don't want to give a false sense. I mean, you know, in one hand, you don't want to give a false sense to people that they might be able to annex or disannex. So I know there are a lot of cities that are having these home rule, even a lot of home rule cities are having these elections in order to adopt the provisions similar to what you have had before you, to indicate that they are just adopting it pursuant to state law. State law will control, because there's no way, I mean, it will, but your staff then will have to explain that and be prepared to explain that if there is
Confusion.
yes, any confusion.
And the only reason why I'm in favor of doing it, pushing those through from our workshop. I'm just asking them because of that third option in regards to waiting and what that harm could potentially be, whether it be legal or just drain on staff resources. From
You've been doing it now for a little while.
Yeah.
Because that change was made
2017.
yeah. So it's you know, I don't know that you've had any issues with being very clear with an applicant as to what they might be able to do as a result of that or not, or whether you are within the city or out of the city. I haven't heard of anything. It just is a cleaner way of having it, but I do think that there is a consideration of, do you want to spend 15 to 20,000 to provide that clarity? And maybe that is where it's juxtaposed.
Council members, what's your thoughts? One 1.05, 1.07, L, and then 10 point something, 11. So I guess first question, do you want election, a charter election? When is our next one due? When is it? Yeah. We have to review, is it every 2 years or 5 years?
City Council may review, well, they're due to review the charter in 2 years on 2028.
Okay.
And then a committee has to be established in 5 years, which is 2030. And staff's recommendation is there's 3 options in front of you. We either, if you, like the mayor, you asked to proceed with the 2 elections, the special election and the general election. With option 1 is the 3 propositions, A, B, and C, and then the mayor's, the council's proposition, which is the new one, is the name of the change of the committee. And then we did, as you recall in the workshop, council did direct staff to pretty much go over the charter and bring you back, you know, what a home rule normally, what a charter looks like, I guess, what's included. So Barbara did provide that information to you all. After going through it, and then I came across that 10.11 community committees. That's your option 2. if we're moving forward, staff is recommending that can be an option to just completely remove that whole section. That just allows for other committees to be created without being listed in the charter. Or, of course, option 3, at this time, council does not move forward with the charter amendment and wait a couple of years and review and consider any new amendments, or these will move forward. So then it's 2028 or 2030.
So
Any questions?
option two is ABL, and then removing 10.11 altogether, which then means anytime in the future we want to do committees, we don't have to worry about any of the charter stuff being hesitant or having to go and add stuff. We just do it either through ordinance or however.
Correct. Remember, council discussed pretty much the committees. Most of the committees are established by ordinance already. So that's what we did. I went through all the sections, and this one kind of stood out because we have been creating ad hoc committees, and we're growing, so I'm sure there's going to be more committees. So it didn't make sense to keep it, to have it in the charter. And it just allows flexibility to create new ones.
And we're already we have an election anyway. In November, we're having
Yes.
an election anyway. So what we're just talking about is paying on top of the almost $15,000 for the general election to include a special election.
Are you talking about the amount?
Yeah, like we're already paying for.
We're paying less than $15,000 to have a general election. That's just your given for general election.
Yeah.
If we're having a special election for charter amendments, then of course it goes up, and then the cost for if there's a runoff as well. Yeah. Your runoffs normally run a little bit more, but that's actually between $15,000 and $20,000. It all depends, because when you have a runoff, you might be the only city that has a runoff, and you get to take that whole cost. So I know the last runoff we had, it was just two of, I think it was the city of Leander and Manor.
Mm-hmm.
So our cost was a little bit higher. So it all depends.
All right, council. So we're already having an election. Do we want to pay a little bit more, knock out the charter stuff? And if that's the case, then we pick option 1 or 2. If you don't want to do this now, then it's option 3. And so we can ask the questions, or you can, if you know what you want, you can just go ahead and motion for one of the options, and we'll see if it passes. But if you have questions or you want discussion, go ahead and unmute. And the recommendation language is whichever option you select, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Option 1, 2, or 3. And I just wanted to point out that we do have deadlines. So council will be calling the general election in August. We would just need to know tonight to pretty much Travis County will be reaching out to me to see if we're having a special election with that general election.
All right, Jane.
The deadline is August 7th. I believe it's August 17th. So I want to say, I think it's second meeting, or the first meeting in August is when we will be presenting the ordinances to call the election. Either both or just one.
Someone want to make that motion?
Mayor and Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve to proceed with special election for charter amendments for propositions A, B, L, and the removal of section 10.11 committee committees as discussed.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Mesquer. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion? No questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
So that was option 2, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, council members, we got executive session, and then we have an item when we come back out. So council will now reconvene into executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. We will not be there until 1:45 in the morning. All right. City Council will now reconvene into open session pursuant to the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. And council members, if you recall, we tabled an item, and we're going to go ahead and go back to that item at this point in time. I believe it's item number 13, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the First Amendment to Chapter 380 Chapter 380 agreement for Kimbrough Crossing and ID Cap, Maynard, Texas LLC. Council members, is there any additional questions or motion for this one?
Mayor and Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the First Amendment to the Chapter 380 agreement, Kimbrough Crossing with ID Cap, Maynard, Texas LLC.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquer. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And this meeting is adjourned at 9:35 p.m.